hand over to Miguel, who is the founder of Mapidea. So let me find Miguel. Where are you? All right.
Hi all. Let me share my screen.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Always online. In life would be better, but it is what it is. I'm the founder of Mapidea. I have a co-founder that's the CTO. And we've created Mapidea to enable businesses to use maps and location analytics for better business decisions. And these may sound like old school conversation, but actually what we found over the years working in geomarketing with large companies is that there is a huge gap between what geography and GIS can do and what the business users at the end of the day uses. And for sure, for some of you guys, doing a map to put up on a PowerPoint, it's something that it's very frequent to happen. So we want to make it something very simple, something that the user can start operating from day one without heavy training, but at the same time that provides real answers for their business problems. And I think it's time to stop with this type of conversation, saying that GIS is very easy. This open QGIS, for example, is very easy to use. I think we are not being fair. When we say things like this, we are not being fair for ourselves, because we study lots of years, we train lots of time to use this type of solutions. Probably some of the people that are attending even develop some of these solutions. So it's not easy. They don't have anything easy related to them. So it's like asking, okay, strike a free kick like Ronaldo. This guy trains a lot, right? So we also trained a lot to operate this type of softwares. We wanted to meet the user halfway. So obviously, the most simple things doesn't do a lot of things. So it's a balance. So we wanted to meet them halfway. We want them to be able to use and to master the software, the solution in a couple of hours, but at the same time, pack the solution with a lot of analytical capabilities, analytical power. And it's supposed to think as Excel. Everyone inside an organization uses Excel, right? For numbers, for math. So our goal is for them to use Mapidea as they use Excel for the number parts, here for the geographic parts. I just give some examples of customers, not for commercial purposes, but to show the same application serves completely different markets. Telecoms, fuel companies, fast food chains, Huawei. So the same application, and obviously we can talk about all the ArcGIS, Mapinfo, QGIS, they can all be used in different segments of activity. Here is the same. We don't do any custom development. They start using with their data, and that's it. And this is the longest time that I spoke about Mapidea without showing Mapidea. So I'll very briefly give you an example of Mapidea operating. Where's my mouse? Here. So this is a web-based application. Basically, we don't need to install anything on the computer of the user or on the tablet. And then here at the left side, you have what we call the library. I'm not going to much detail. I just want to showcase some part of the simplicity. And this is our focus / obsession. It's to make things very, very easy to use, very simple to use. I give you an example. If I drag and drop the city blocks of Lisbon, if I want to do a thematic map with a number of youngsters per city block, 1 click, 2 clicks, I don't need to understand nothing about cartography in essence. I just need to select the metric that I want to see. So for example, if I want to see youngsters, drag, drop, and create. If I want to see the number of seniors, for example, 1 click, 2, I'll drag the seniors, and here you can change the colors, you can change the values, you can change a lot of details, but you cannot change the natural breaks, the equal counts, the divisions, because some of the users, well, practically all the users don't even know what this type of classifications mean. So they would just want to have the ability to create on the fly a thematic map like this. And then just by changing the opacity, they can understand relations on the metrics. And they can interact with the map and point out where are some phenomena more concentrated or not. So is this ability, this plasticity that we are looking for with Mapidea. Another example that is, again, I've done this over my geomarketing consultant early years, a lot of time. A business manager, a marketing manager wants to know, I want the list of customers where I can do a campaign, for example. For example, for a telco company. Let's say that this is the area where they can serve a specific service, and the guy just wants, at the end of the day, the list of customers that are inside these areas. Probably for everyone that is watching, it's very easy to do. But then this person needs to ask to someone to do this. And in the corporate time, this can take 1 day. Sending an email, then the guy from the GIS department receives, he puts on the pile of work. Here, they can do themselves practically without training. So 1 click on the customers, I go to the functionality filter. I'll say, okay, everything is drag and drop. So I want the customers within or not within these areas. I want the customers inside the business areas. But at the same time, you can add business filters, normal filters that you do on an Excel. For example, I only want the customers from the price plan, let's say gold, or if I put this on top, you noticed a little difference. If I put this on top, it's like putting parentheses on the expression. So you can create very complex filtering just by dragging and dropping the elements. So I want the customers that are inside those areas, and they must be from one of these 2 price plans. I press apply, I have the list. I can turn this into a heat map to understand at a glance the concentrations. And sometimes this kills PowerPoints because I just point out and see, okay, this area and this area probably are the better to do a certain campaign. But the punchline is this. You go to the tab customers and you export it to our favorite formats or to the business guys formats, a simple Excel. And this saves a lot of time inside the organizations. And for a GIS person to do something like this, it's not challenging. So it's a win-win situation where the GIS experts can focus on much rather difficult operations. One last example. So let's say, for example, let's put the stores here. I want to see the dynamics surrounding these stores. I can create a proximity time. Let's say, for example, 10 minutes walking time. I have these areas, and now I will use the city blocks and say, okay, I only want the city blocks that are within those areas. 1 click. Now I have these elements created. I can see the total, so I can know how many residents are in 10 minutes walking time from these stores. And I can do again the thematic map, for example, the number of families per city block. And we try to make it, again, simple. These functionalities that you see here, they are not 500, they are 5 functionalities. The last part is the ability to create calculations. And this is something that sets apart a little bit the typical dashboards from analytical applications. So, for example, I will calculate how many customers do I already have in those city blocks. So I'm using the layer that you saw before, the number of the dots of the customers. I'm counting the customers. Press apply, and now it's done. Each of these city blocks now have the number of customers calculated on the fly. And again, I can carry on working, doing analysis, doing the thematic maps or the calculations. And at the end of the day, I can save these results write here a message and save it for myself, or share with an entire team of an entire department or a specific user that receives this analysis on his email. The only thing he needs to do to use the analysis, let's pretend that I've just logged in. Instead of doing all the steps, I go here, I search the analysis, I drag and drop, and I see the results on the map. And if the data changes, so the results will change. So basically, in a nutshell, is don't compromise with the users by lacking functionalities, but making them simple and available. And again, practically 99% of our customers don't even know what GIS stands for. Guys, thanks.
Congrats, Miguel. Very nice, very nice. Can you, well, Stephen, do you have any questions?
I do. Question from Derek. How would you add your own data, store locations, customers, etc., to this tool?
Well, imagine that you have an Excel file with coordinates, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You simply drag and drop to the application, even as end user. So you can drag and drop shape files, mapinfo files, GeoJSONs, pretty much CSVs with coordinates. So this was on an Excel file, and now it's on the application.
Right.
We have a backend where you can configure and you can upload. You can connect directly to Postgres, Oracle, Microsoft, SQL Server, Hive. So pretty much all the standards. And again, the end user doesn't even know that happens. If they receive something like this, something like, for example, a mapinfo file with buildings, I just drag and drop the files, and they are here to use in Mapidea.
Pretty cool.
So, sorry, on the UK. Yeah. We don't want to make any barriers. It's not something that you have to fine tune and then it's closed. No, it's completely open. The user can add his own data.
I've got another question here, Miguel. Over the last couple of years, we've seen several new tools and visualization software. This makes a confusing marketplace for potential users. Do you see this trend continuing, or do you think there's going to be a shakeout in the geo business intelligence sector?
It's the $1 million question. I think there's a lot of offerings nowadays. Some of them more successful and more known to everyone. It's really, it comes with the startup trends in all sectors. But I think there's a huge gap and a huge opportunity between the traditional GIS way of life that I think it's very important to endure and to ensure that it continues, because this doesn't replace traditional GIS tools. Okay, so we don't call it GIS, we call it location analytics, because it's based on location and enables the user to do locations. I think and this has more than 20 years, there's a romance between business intelligence and GIS, but the marriage never happened perfectly. So it's very tough to combine those worlds. I'm imagining that more companies are appearing with solutions, and the market will define who stays along or fade away in time, I think.
You're certainly right. Nearly 15 years ago, I was head of product management in Europe for Mapinfo, and we were struggling to do anything a fraction as powerful as what you've just demonstrated. I've got one more question for you, Miguel. Alistair McLennan says, bravo. And then he says, can the platform display real-time data?
Excellent question. It does not represent real-time data, but what is real-time data? So you will not see things flashing on the screen. So that's not happening here in Mapidea. Although you can have, for example, you can add data every 15 minutes can be refreshed, for example, or every 10 minutes. The question is that this is not an operational tool. This is something that to use more analytical realm. So I give one example here. Imagine that these are cell site areas. You can have, for example, the number of drop calls per day or per hour, for example, but we'll not see the things moving on the screen.
Okay, that makes sense.